Uh, Here are 5 broken Naomis that just arrived from China. It took 2 months to get here, bought them off eBay, fairly cheap. The reason I bought them is they have the plastic Naomi case, unlike what you see to the left in this video, which is on the bottom you see the metal caged Naomi. That's what the first generation Naomi's first ones came in. A metal case. The filter board, you can see the empty hole in the front. That's for the filter board, which I have temporarily got on this spare Naomi motherboard that I was testing because it does not have a filter board. So I pulled the filter board off of the metal cage and tested it on that other Naomi motherboard to verify that the other one is working. So yeah, I've got this giant metal cage. I've got another Naomi that the motherboard works, and I have no case for it. So I ordered 5 broken Naomis with plastic cases from China, thinking that I would be able to transport at least the working filter board and working motherboard into one of the cases, put the other working motherboard into a second case, and out of the 5, maybe I can get one of the filter boards to work, which would essentially get me a second working Naomi, since right there that's basically 1.5 working Naomis, because 2 working motherboards but only 1 working filter board. So I don't normally do unboxing videos or anything like that, but after I took these out of the big cardboard box, I figured, why not throw the video camera up and take a video of what I've got and maybe open them up on video. Okay, so the first thing that happened was CPU fan just fell off. It's CPU fan and heatsink. I can see bare wires going to the fan, bare pins, and yeah, no heatsink material. There's the Naomi. Pretty bad looking case. Now they did have good high res photos of these, so I kind of knew what I was getting into. I was paying more attention to the filter boards. Of the 5 Naomis, it looks like there might only be a couple filter boards that hopefully I can salvage. This is not one of the ones that has major rust on it, but a couple of these, one of them has the video port yanked off, so just the bare wires that normally go to the VGA connector. Another one has the audio jacks removed. One of them has so much rust around the VGA RCA and even looks like inside the power connection pins that I don't think I'll be able to save that one. So my real hope out of this is, out of 5, if I can get 2 working filter boards and maybe one of these broken motherboards running, then maybe I'll have 1 spare I can sell, and that'll basically pay for what I paid for all 5 of these. Just really yellowed cases. There's no feet on them for mounting. Like I said, this one here, the CPU. Actually, I'm not sure if that's the CPU or the GPU, to be perfectly honest, but the fan has come off and the heatsink's off, so I'm guessing that motherboard's probably not very good. There's a big patch wire running here with a resist. Yeah, there's several mods done to that one, but okay, that's the first one. And again, part of the reason why I did this is because even buying a non-working Naomi from the States, the price of the Naomi plus shipping, when I just need the empty case, came to not too much less than ordering this lot of 5. So I figured, well, why not just order 5? Maybe, like I said, if I can get one of these motherboards working, or salvage 2 of the filter boards, then I'd be in pretty good shape. I notice these fans are all filthy. Actually, that almost looks like spray. That's spray paint. Somebody probably spray painted the cabinet that was in. This one has, I can see, no CPU fan, which is kind of a surprise because I thought they all had CPU fans, although I can hear it rattling around in there. So I'm wondering if the chips failed on all these, or they assumed they did, and they were pulling them off to reflow them or something, and weren't able to get them up and running. This is one of the rusted ones. I'm sitting down here. I don't know how well the camera's going to focus on this, but yeah, this is the one where the VGA port is just completely rusted on the outside. RCA ports have been removed. So these pins are all bent, which is no big deal. But the other big deal is the power pins, which now that I see it, the power pins might not be completely rusted. If not, it might be salvageable if I can figure out, maybe I can wire wheel all the rust off of the VGA connector and figure out a way to hook a replacement RCA audio there. My main concern was if the pins are rusted for the power coming in, then I don't even really want to mess with it. Another thing that is, this is the supercapacitor, which if you do any Naomi research online, you might have heard of the supercapacitor. They leak over time, and the corrosion that comes out of them can damage traces in the area around the chip. So that one looks pretty scuzzy, actually. But the whole thing kind of looks scuzzy, so yeah, you don't know what you're dealing with. Well, number 3 doesn't rattle. This one doesn't rattle, so maybe that CPU assembly is still attached on this one. Ugh, filthy. Looking in there, that fan still seems attached on this one. Yeah, it's filthy. Apart from that, it doesn't look too bad. Let's look at this. Okay, this is one that has some rust on the VGA connector, some rust on the RCA. I can see something jammed in the one channel of the RCA audio there. I don't know if that's dirt in there or if there's something wrong with that plug. But that one's not, doesn't look like, it might not be a total waste. Although, oh, right here I can see a whole bunch of large solder blobs. Very large solder blobs. They look like these two might even be connected to each other. That just looks nasty. Okay, so somebody's worked on that filter board and done some repairs, or attempted to do some repairs. There's no BIOS chip. That's not a big deal. Okay, so that one's mainly filthy as heck, and the filter board looks like it's had some work done to it. Number 4. I've noticed the same seller on eBay also sells lots of non-working Naomi motherboards, like 8 motherboards, 7 motherboards in a lot. which I don't do surface mount. I mean, I can do some surface mount by hand, but I don't have a hot air station, so if somebody has that kind of a setup, they might be able to buy, you know, a lot of non-working Naomis and be able to figure out what's going on to get them running again. Okay, this one here, a lot of nastiness around that supercapacitor that I was talking about. It looks fairly bad in there. That fan and heatsink is still attached on this one. The case is dirty but not terrible, and this one, apart from the pins that are just mangled down here on the Maple bus. The Maple bus is where you can attach Dreamcast controllers. If you look online, you'll find pinouts where you can wire the pins from a Dreamcast controller up to these, and some games will support the Dreamcast controller and even the memory units. This might have happened in shipping. I'm not sure. I don't remember in the pictures if I saw pins that were that badly bent. I mean, I'll carefully try and unbend them and make them safe, or make them straight. I can see pins are sticking out on this connector, which is CN10, I think? I can feel 3 pins on 12 volt output, but there's no connector. Actually, it's the same on these others as well. Okay, yeah, that's just how they run. They didn't put a connector on the 12 volt output. This filter board right here is from House of the Dead 2, originally from a House of the Dead 2 board, and the one that's working, so I had to remind myself if they normally populated that with an actual connector, and they don't, so that's not a problem. VGA looks good, RCA looks good, power looks good. I don't see signs of soldering there. One thing I just noticed on the House of the Dead 2, there's a connector up here and a bunch of, I'm assuming these are resistors. There's none on this one, on this filter board. Those have either been removed or they were never populated. I'm not sure what connects up to that. CN11 RGB, so that looks like another way to get video out apart from the VGA connector. So that might not be necessary, and this might be a later revision filter board where they didn't populate that. In fact, looking at the other 3 that I've opened, I see that none of them have that either. So again, this is from a House of the Dead 2, which was one of the release titles for the Naomi, so it's one of the first, or probably is the first revision filter board, and they probably had that other RGB connector if you wanted to connect it maybe instead of the VGA you wanted to wire your own connector that goes to a breakout connector for the monitor. I remember these do VGA resolution and also standard resolution. So it looks like that missing is not a problem, it's just this revision of the filter board. So that one I have high hopes for, that one might actually work. Fingers crossed, like I said, if I can get 2 working filter boards. So that's probably my best bet right there as far as a working filter board. Alright, last one. This one should be the one, yes, this one is the one with the VGA port that's ripped off. Possibly the cleanest case, although look at the color mismatch. I almost wonder if the top of that case is not original to the bottom. No big deal, but just interesting that that's the color difference. So here you see on the filter board what I'm talking about. This one, the VGA port has been like ripped out. and there's just all the little connectors are still there. So, yeah, maybe when they were taking these out of the arcade, they just grabbed the VGA cable and yanked, and it just pulled completely out of the filter board. Other than that, this filter board looks pretty nice. Some bent pins on the maple bus again. There's something in that RCA. Again, I don't know if that's broken or dirt or what, but in that one, the white connector for the RCA audio, looks like there's something blocking it. But the power ports look good. USB, a little bit bent on the end. Again, that might be shipping, I don't know. No feet on the bottom. Oh, double-sided foam tape. Yeah, that's one way to secure it to a cabinet, I guess. This one has a completely different heatsink fan from the others. Much taller heatsink. I think I've seen pictures of fans of that type. I almost want to say that's more commonly found on the Naomi 2, but I'm not positive. Super capacitor looks okay. Well, visual inspection, that motherboard doesn't look too terribly bad. Yeah, shame about the VGA just ripped right off. I don't know if I can just get another one and slide it on over those pins. Not, but that's another option. Is if I have something like that, I know that goes to a VGA header. There's wires there I can solder to. If I really wanted to, I could just make some kind of a hack where I wire, just maybe cut off the end of a VGA cable, go to Hart electronics store and get a VGA cable and just wire it up myself. And it won't, look original. It won't probably fit original. I might hot glue or epoxy it in place because the hole mounts might not line up. But it might be a way to get this one functional, and then I can keep it for myself because I don't care if that looks a little bit odd, as long as it would work. So that is an option there. So there we go. There's 5 Naomis from China, advertised as non-working. I can pretty much guarantee that, as it stands, several of them are non-working. But, like I need another project like a hole in my head. But, yeah, I will hopefully be able to make one working one out of that mess. Hopefully I'll be able to find a couple good filter boards. And as I said, the main issue is the metal cased Naomi that I wanted to get out of the metal case, because mounting that anywhere is a pain in the neck because it's so much larger. In fact, yeah, you can see there. Let me zoom in on that here. You can see there that the back corner, sorry about the camera movements, the back corner and left hand side are lined up. You can see that it looks like it's 1.5 inches to 2 inches wider, and in fact that might even be 2.5 inches wider, and maybe 1 inch, 1.5 inches longer. The other issue is where the cartridge or the DIMM unit plugs into the Naomi there, that open spot where you can see the circuit board. Those won't plug into the metal cage Naomis because the motherboard is up against that left hand side. in such a way that you physically can't, and it's also, I think it's too far forward as well. So when you try to put a cartridge or a dim board into the metal cage, it hits the metal cage. You'd have to cut or bend away part of the metal cage to even fit one in there. So how they ran those in the arcades is the ROM board that would normally be in a plastic case, which most people are familiar with. When you buy a game for the Naomi, it's either GD-ROM or it's usually a cartridge that is encased in the same white plastic as the Naomi, and it has the name of the game on it. That's just a ROM board that's inside a plastic case. So the games that came in the metal case, they just had that ROM board plugged into the board in the same way that you'd plug one into the plastic case. It just didn't have a plastic case around it. It was just a bare circuit board. So it's more user-friendly, the white plastic ones, because the game cartridge only, it goes in one way. It's obvious. It clicks in there really nice. Whereas the metal ones, it's just a bare circuit board you're putting on top of a bare circuit board. So the other difference, there's one other difference between the metal case and the plastic case, and that's the fan. The fan that is in the metal case is a larger fan than there is in the plastic case. And that is the fan I'm talking about that gives the airflow through the whole motherboard, not the one that is attached to the CPU, GPU, whichever. I should really figure out which one that is. CPU or GPU. I think it's the GPU. So there's a... On that side right there, there's a fan in there, and that is smaller on the plastic case ones than it is on the metal case ones. But you should get enough airflow with the smaller fan, because that's what most of these actually came with. Another difference, which I can't show you without taking things apart, that possibly relates to the fan is right here. There is what I believe to be a voltage regulator or a transistor right here. It's really small. On the first generation Naomi's, it's like this. It's a larger size, and it has the same large finned heatsink right there on the original. And then they went to this small one when they came out with further revisions. So the fan actually blows air coming in right across here. So the big metal cases have a stronger fan, and they have this larger unit here with a larger heatsink. So did it need that much cooling? Will it be a problem? I've seen the large heatsink on ones that came originally in a plastic case, so I don't think that this area generates enough heat that it's a problem if you put it into a smaller case. In fact, the one I've been testing the gun game on, that one is actually one of the motherboards with that larger heatsink in that area, and it's in a plastic case all this time, and it's never had a problem. So, but just to point out that is one other difference. If you were on the edge about converting one of these metal ones to a plastic one, I would say your main concerns are, as anything arcade related, is your concern originality? Because I will be taking what was originally from a House of the Dead 2 arcade cabinet and in metal cased and moving it to a plastic case, so technically it's not 100% original. And the other issue is, are you worried about heat? Do you think that fan blowing on that large heatsink is necessary as opposed to the smaller fan that came in the later revisions? Personally, I don't really care about either, since I'm not restoring a House of the Dead cab, and even if I was, it's still a Naomi, it's still going to work. I don't think the fan makes that much of a difference, or they would have kept with a larger fan in the plastic case. I think it's all fine and irrelevant, and it saves you space, so that's the direction I'm going to go. Although I suppose if I get one of these other motherboards working, I could put it in the metal case and sell it on eBay in the metal case if somebody preferred the metal case, but otherwise I will probably be recycling the metal case because it's just too big to mess with. So I guess that's about it for this video. 2-month long wait for 5 broken Naomis from China that are all filthy and nasty and various states of scratches and disrepair, and I'll be having a fun time trying to mess around with them to see if I can get any of them to show any signs of life, either the main boards or the filter boards. So that's it for today.